guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Paige and this is my open book. In today's video we're gonna catch up. There seems to be a trend on this channel where I tend to go too long without filming my wrap-ups, and then I have like multiple ones I have to catch you up on. So I'm gonna keep with the 1 minute book review trend, just so that this video is not a million years long. This is gonna be my July wrap-up, and then I'll do a separate video with my August wrap-up. And then we should be back to normal. Fingers crossed. So grab a drink and grab a snack and let's go over all the books that I read in the month of July. Okay, July, I apparently was on a roll and I read 17 books in the month of July. I don't even remember reading that many books, but here we are. So let me set my timer. We'll be good to go. Okay, the first book I read was Echoes of You by Catherine Cowles, and I listened to this on audio. This is the second book in her Lost and Found series. Okay, so this follows Nash, who is kind of like the jokester sibling, and this is a friends to lovers romance. So in this one, it follows his childhood friend who is coming back to the small town. And I think this is the one where she had left town to be with this other guy, and unfortunately that relationship does not end up being what she expected. So she is kind of like going back to her hometown to kind of escape this other guy. And Nash is also a police officer in this small town. And yeah, this is just a classic friends to lovers. And if you're new to Catherine Cowles, she does romantic suspense really well. So there's like a really good plot twist and suspenseful element that goes alongside this romance. And I was pleasantly surprised. I rated this, there's my timer, perfect timing. I rated this 5 stars. It was a hit. Okay, next, I don't even remember reading this book. Okay. We're gonna start my timer for Snow Place Like LA by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. So this is part of their like Christmas series where it's like a Hallmark movie network kind of situation, but it's people who used to be part of the adult film industry and now they're trying to do like more cutesy rom-com Christmas movies. And this one is a novella, and it involves like 2 of the side characters. It's an MM romance. I don't remember anything about this. I rated it 3.5 stars, but I feel like I should change that now to like a 3 because I couldn't tell you a darn thing. I think this is one where it's like a second chance romance of some sort, where they were on the movie set together and they kind of like had a little like summer romance, I want to say. But then it ends with them thinking it'll continue, but then one of the characters ends up ghosting the other one. So if you don't like miscommunication, you're probably not gonna like this. It doesn't always bother me. There's my timer. Because sometimes it's done well. Like I said, these 2 characters were really cute. This is definitely funny. Like if you're a rom-com kind of person, this is cute, like Christmas in July kind of vibe. I don't know, this series just isn't really hitting for me like I wanted it to. It just isn't. I read this because I really wanted to read the new one that came out that's supposed to be like Twilight inspired, and I haven't even picked that one up. So I don't know if I'm going to continue the series or not. TBD. We'll see. Okay, next, for the holiday, like July 4th weekend, I decided to binge almost the rest of the Neva Altaj Perfectly Imperfect series. So I read the first few earlier this year and I loved them. This is like top tier mafia and I love it. Oh, I need to start my timer. Sorry. Okay, so this is a mafia series, and each book, like, some of them do have very similar themes and there are some like overlapping storylines between some of the books. So I do recommend reading the series in order. The first book is not my favorite, but just stick it out. I promise the rest of the series is so worth it. And this particular one, Stolen Touches, is, I think she ends up, yeah, so yeah, okay, sorry. Some of these kind of blur together in my brain, so I need to like look up the synopsis really quick. But basically, she is part of the Italian mafia, I want to say, from like Chicago or something like that, and she goes to New York to try and kind of get out of that world. She's pursuing a nursing degree and she really wants to like make her own life. Well, she's not really supposed to be in New York because there's this rival mafia family and he has a very strict rule about other mafia members coming into his territory. So she's kind of like under a fake name and he finds out about her. Their meet cute is very interesting because they meet outside of the hospital where she works at because someone is trying to have a baby. And she like he's just like walking by and she's like, hey, give me your jacket, I need to use it to deliver this baby. Like, that's their meet cute, and she obviously has no idea who he is, he doesn't know who she is, and it just kind of goes from there. Great. I rated this one 3.5 stars. I thought I rated it like at least a 4. Oh Lord, this is why I can't be doing these so far behind, because now I don't remember why I only rated that a 3.5 star, because I thought I liked it. I don't know, couldn't tell you. Okay. Okay, next was Fractured Souls, which is book 6. Let me start my timer. So again, same Mafia series, but this one was such a heavy hitter. Like, I think I'm gonna put this on my 6-star list because this one like really, in my opinion, was like so emotionally deep compared to the other ones. The other ones already are super emotional, so this like even took it a step further than that. But basically the female main character, she is a victim of trafficking and the male main character rescues her. Now there is an age gap, and obviously like check your trigger warnings, this is very like deep subject matter, but yeah, just the way that she's able to heal from that experience, and just like the way that he is so supportive of her, and like he's even fighting it the whole time because he knows, like, you know, I really shouldn't be like around her when she's in this state, but like she doesn't have anywhere else to go. Yeah, it was just amazing. It was amazing. I really felt for these characters, like they really felt like real people to me. So I highly recommend. Fractured Souls book number 6 was definitely a winner. Okay, so then I went right into book number 7, Burned Dreams. So for this one, oh, if you love a bodyguard romance, this one's for you. I feel like this one could also probably be read as a standalone if you really wanted to. But in this one, the male main character, he has had it out for this one guy in the mafia for like years because of something that happened in his past. He's been plotting his revenge, and he is kind of like a trained assassin in a way. You find out that his past, he was kind of like part of this government program for kids where they kind of like groomed these kids to be killers basically. And so this is him kind of like getting out of that and enacting revenge through the mafia world. So he ends up being hired as a bodyguard for the wife of this really important guy in the mafia, and it's actually the romance between the wife and the bodyguard. So obviously the husband is not the best guy, clearly. The main character, Alessandro, doesn't want his plan to be messed up, but he just can't resist the female main character, and this romance is amazing. Amazing. I gave it 5 stars. Okay, then I went right into book number 8, which is Silent Lies. And this one follows Drago, he's actually like a villain of a rival mafia from a previous book. And this is kind of an arranged marriage of convenience situation where the female main character is tasked to marry him as kind of like a way to kind of like compromise the two warring mafia families, or so they think, but in reality they actually want her to spy on this rival gang. So she is really good at learning languages, so that's why they task her with it, because she has to learn Serbian in order to spy on this other mafia family. She's kind of like a double agent because she is kind of, you know, fitting in with this new family, but also like spying on them, and is expected to report things back to her original mafia family. So there's definitely like, you don't know whether you should like her and be on her side kind of thing. And you definitely have a soft spot for the villain for certain reasons that I don't want to give as spoilers, but this is another really, really good one. And 5 stars. Like, honestly, Neva Alta, she knows what she's doing, okay? Like, binging these books, they're so easy to read, but at the same time so deep, and there's like a lot of plot, and they're so unique. Like, I've read a lot of mafia romance in my time, and these still stand out to me, and I just love reading them. I just can't get enough. Like, the only downside is I thought the series was done. That's why I was binging them, because I was like, oh, this is perfect. But then I realized the 10th book in the series doesn't come out until December. So then I got mad and I didn't read the 9th book. So, in December, when the final book comes out, I will read books 9 and 10, and that way I can be done with the series. Okay, I guess we can talk about the next series I read this month on audio. So we kind of already talked about book 2. So after that, I finished book 3, which is Glimmers of You from the Lost and Found series by Catherine Cowles. This one follows her brother's best friend. So this is actually the only sister in the Hartley family, Gray, and she kind of had her own friendship with her brother's best friend Caden when they were kids, and they kind of have a special bond. So the special thing about Gray is she is diabetic, and she's had it like since she was a kid, and Caden is the one who was there when she had her first like hospitalization because of her diabetes, like when she first found out she had it. And he was kind of the one who saved her, but that really like messed with him because he had lost his younger sister earlier in life, and I think he definitely had like some fear there of like loving someone again after losing his sister and like knowing what that's like. He also has some really like terrible things going on with his family, and he has to come back to the small town, and they reunite, and this is their romance. Honestly, great brother's best friend. If you love that trope, you're gonna love this book. Small town, romantic suspense, everything that Catherine Cowles does well is in this book. I loved it. Another 5-star. Book number 4, Shadows of You. This one follows a single mom who is in this small town as a fresh start. So she's kind of in the witness protection program because of something that happened in her past that we don't know about. Nobody in the town knows about. No one knows about her other identity. She runs the cafe, so she's kind of like started to develop friendships with the people and this family in the small town. And she is kind of like her own, she has her own like animal rescue in a way at her home with her kid. Like they rescue animals and they keep them in like a barn on their land. And it's like random animals, like I think there's like a llama, and they rescue like blind cats, 3-legged dogs, you know, basically like the animals that nobody else would want to help, they take them in. So it's really cute. And this is actually her romance with one of the brothers of the Hartley family. He's kind of the ostracized brother, and he's in charge of wildlife there. He is ostracized by the town because they blamed him for a crime that happened years ago, and he never kind of really recovered from that. Everyone still kind of looks at him like there's something off about him, we just don't know. And yeah, another 5-star. I'm sure you are not surprised. I was so happy reading this series and the Neva Altaj series like simultaneously because I could listen to this on audio. It gave me small town, but there was still like great plot. And then I got the more like darker, grittier romances through Kindle Unlimited reading the Mafia book. So it was like perfect to read these series simultaneously. I just want to point that out. The narrators are great for this series, and I just had a really good time. Plus this one had really cute nicknames. Like he called her Tenderheart, and he calls her daughter Tiny Dancer, and because he's a grump, her daughter calls him Mr. Grizz, which is short for grizzly bear. I just thought that was way too cute. I couldn't resist. And I'll go ahead and talk about the last book of the series. I technically didn't finish it until like the first couple days of August, but we're just gonna say that I read it in July. Like it counts. So we have Ashes of You, which is book 5 in the Lost and Found series. So this one follows the oldest brother, I just forgot his name, Lawson, and he is in charge of the police force, and he is a single dad. He has 3 boys, and one of them is a teenager, one's like a preteen, the other one's like in elementary school. So he's got like all of them in his house at the same time. He's super busy, and he is looking for a nanny for obvious reasons. And there's kind of a flashback to someone that he helped rescue from a previous case years ago, and that is our female main character. She is the survivor of a serial killer, and she is looking for a fresh start in this small town, and she sees an opening for a nanny position. So she goes to the interview and then realizes, oh my god, you're the guy who rescued me. So there's kind of a conflict of interest there, but she has really the only competent nanny that applied, and he really needs the help, and she kind of wants to like, you know, pay it forward. So they end up working it out where she's going to be the nanny for his 3 boys. I loved this one. Like, this is definitely 6-star material for me. Like the relationship that she has with his sons, especially the teenage son who's kind of like going through a hard time, and she kind of helps him through it. I love a good age gap, so that also like checked a good box for me. Yeah, like this was definitely my favorite of the series, hands down. So that's why I wanted to give it a 6-star, because I gave all the other books in the series a 5-star. So this one definitely like was above the rest in my opinion. So yeah, those two series did take up the bulk of my month, but there are some other things, so let's get into those. Let's see. Next I read The Prince of Broadway by Joanna Shu. This is a historical romance. So this is the second book in a series, and I love this because the female main character is trying to open her own like gambling casino kind of situation, and obviously this is back in the I think like late 1800s, maybe early 1900s. There's still like nowhere near gender equality in this society, so basically as a woman your purpose is to get married and make a family, and she's not about that. She wants to make her own life, so she is going to kind of be like an apprentice, if you will, to this guy who runs one of the biggest gambling rings in New York City, so she can try and learn from him so she can open her own business. And it is their romance. I love this. I was just giggling all throughout. Like, Joanna Shu writes the best banter. Like, if you are new to historical romance, I definitely recommend starting with her books because they're like modern-ish enough and they take place in America, so I feel like they're just more accessible to someone who doesn't want like a super stuffy historical romance. So I highly recommend. I rated it 5 stars. It was amazing. Okay, next I read Triple Sec by TJ Alexander. This was a super cute read. So this, I love how I say cute to describe this book, but basically this is a polyamorous situation. So the main character is a bartender, kind of like a mixologist. Like, she's really into like making her own drinks and her own recipes and kind of like doing unique twists on classic cocktails. So she works at this like really upscale bar in New York City, and a patron comes to the bar and it's someone that she's like immediately attracted to, but then she finds out that she's married. So she's a little disappointed, but she's like, yeah, whatever, like, you know, I still got good conversation from this person, whatever. Well, she comes back a different night and she makes her an offer. She's like, hey, why don't you come over to this brunch that I'm having at my house with my partner? And she basically asks her to be her lover. So the marriage between the other main character and their partner is open. Obviously this is the first time the character has gone through this. So I love this perspective on like how a polyamorous relationship would work, or like an open relationship would work in the real world. There's also a non-binary character involved, which I think is great representation that I think is lacking in the romance genre, if I'm being honest. So for that aspect of it, I love this book. I think that the author did a really great job with that. I don't know. And the romance does have an interesting twist as you get closer to the end that like you don't expect at the beginning. So I did like that part of it, but I think it just wasn't like, what am I trying to say? I think there were parts of the romance that were lacking. Like, I did want more focus on the romance, but I'm also a very character-driven reader. Like, I love just diving into the characters and the relationship dynamic. Like, that's enough for me. But I think towards the end, it kind of like lost some of that, and it was focused too much on like the bar plot that I wasn't really as interested in. So that was just a personal preference kind of thing. The author did a great job. And like I said, the representation is definitely important, but yeah, it was still a fun time. Okay, next I read Play Along by Liz Tomford. This is the newest book in her Windy City series, and this was a baseball romance. This is also a married in Vegas. Like, they wake up and realize that they got married the night before on a drunken night in Vegas, but a little bit of a twist because the male main character has actually been pining after the female main character for a very long time, but she was engaged to somebody else because she is in kind of like a rich society kind of family that kind of pressured her into marrying this guy. But they recently broke it off because she found out that he cheated on her with her sister, I think, or cousin or something like that. Someone in her family was having an affair with her fiance. Sorry, I think I said husband previously. Fiance. They were engaged. So the engagement is off. She is unfortunately forced to go to the bachelorette party for this girl who's now going to marry her ex-fiance. Like, how fucked up is that? I'm sorry. And the main character is also there, and they have a drunken night together. It was actually a really sweet night though. So normally the kind of like eloping in Vegas trope is not my thing, but I think because they already had a friendship before then and he was kind of like already pining after her and there's like other things going on with their dynamic, I actually really liked this one and I gave it 4.5 stars. To me, this was way better than Caught Up, the previous book that was about his brother. Everyone loved that one. I was not that impressed by it. But this one was really, really, really good. Still not as good as The Right Move, so that's why I didn't give it a 5-star, but 4.5 stars was very solid in my opinion. Okay, then I read, these two kind of go together, so I'm going to talk about them like as one book. But we have One Last Summer by Piper Rain, along with The One I Left Behind by Piper Rain. So let me start the timer. So One Last Summer is kind of like a novella to go over when they were first together back in high school. And it's typical high school romance where he is like the star football player and they had a great romance together. They grew up in the same small town, but he's going off to college. He has been, or is he drafted? I can't remember. No, he's going to college. He's going to college to play football. So he's leaving the small town and they thought they could make it work long distance, but it just didn't work out. So that's what the first novella is about. It's kind of like showing you their background of like when they were together in high school and they have that one last summer together before he leaves. Now they're adults in The One I Left Behind, and he's coming back to the small town because he has retired from playing professional football, and he's kind of like in limbo right now in his life, so going back home is the thing. And of course in town he's like the big celebrity and everyone knows that she's the one that he left behind. And she's also a single mom. So because of the age of her kid, there's a lot of theories thrown around like who's the dad. It adds up, it could be his kid. So there's that whole aspect of it as well, but I'm not going to spoil how that ends. This was definitely a cute like summer second chance sports romance with a small town setting. I wouldn't say it's anything groundbreaking just because I read a lot of second chance romances, and to me this wasn't as like angsty as I would have liked it to be. So I gave it a 3.5 star rating. Okay, next is Home is Where the Bodies Are, which this is a thriller that I read in my book club with Katie, so I will leave our live show linked. That way you can go watch it to see our full thoughts. I gave it like a 2.5 star rating, so you can go watch the live show to hear my full thoughts on it. But that's just like a domestic thriller basically, where there's 3 siblings that are like cleaning up the house after the mom died, and they come across this like weird tape with like some questionable footage on it of it looking like their parents are covering a murder. So now they're like trying to uncover the truth. It wasn't my favorite. Okay, then I went into Lover on Mound by J.R. Ward. Let me start my timer. This is the next book in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series, and this one follows Vicious, who previously he's the one who's kind of like the psychic of the Vampire Society. This is a paranormal romance series, by the way. He hasn't been able to have his visions for a really long time though, so he's kind of going through like a weird time. His friend just got married off to somebody else in the Vampire Society, and it was a friend he was really close with, so he's kind of like dealing with that loneliness, and he ends up having a battle with the people, or we'll call them vampire slayers just to keep it simple, and he ends up getting taken into the hospital because they think he's human, and Jane is the human surgeon who has to work on him, and she kind of realizes like, you're not human, like this is weird. So his vampire society kind of has to do damage control, and they try to like mess with her memories, and they try to like, you know, put like false records into the hospital system. So like she knows something fishy is going on, and he doesn't want to let her go. I'm just gonna leave that there because I don't want to spoil it. So she gets wrapped up into this vampire world, and it's great. I did not think these two would be a good couple, so I did not think this was going to be like a very romantic pairing, but I was pleasantly surprised. J.R. Ward pulled it off, and I really liked their dynamic. I gave this 4 stars. It was really good. Okay, then I read The Art of Catching Feelings by Alicia Thompson. Let me start my timer. Another baseball romance, but this one has a very unique setup, which I really liked. So in this one, she is watching the game, and she is not a baseball fan at all. She got these tickets from her divorce, like I guess the ex-husband wanted the tickets, but it was actually tickets from her brother, so she got them in the divorce or something. I don't know. So she's getting drunk at this baseball game with her friend, and she's shit-talking the players because that's what everyone around her is doing, so she's just trying to like have a good time. So she says something to this guy that is going up to bat, and it like strikes a nerve, and he starts crying. So it becomes like he becomes the laughingstock of the league, like this pro baseball player going up to bat, and he's crying because of something that this girl in the stands said to him, and she feels terrible about it. So she messages him on Instagram to apologize basically for heckling him. So they end up striking a conversation through Instagram DMs, and they have like a special bond. However, they also meet in real life, but he doesn't know that it's her, so it's one of those hidden identity things. I will say the hidden identity thing in this book, I personally think that it wasn't handled the best, but the rest of the book was amazing. Like, if I just didn't think about the fact that she was lying about her identity, like, everything else was perfect. But the fact that she was lying, I just couldn't really get over it in this book for some reason. Like, usually I think in other ones that I've read, like, it makes sense why they don't reveal their true identity. But in this one, I just wasn't a believer. So I gave it a 4-star instead of a 5-star for that reason. But it was really good. She's also like a librarian, reader kind of person. So I think that, like, if you're a book lover, you're gonna like those references. And yeah, he has like a heartbreaking story, so you are just rooting for him the entire time. And yeah, just like the bond that they have is undeniable. That's why, like, even though I didn't like the fact that she lied about her identity, I wasn't too mad about it, because you could just tell that they really are soulmates. Like, they were meant to be together, and I wholeheartedly believe that. All right, and last one for the month, we have Mouth to Mouth by Tessa Bailey. So I wanted to start this series off on my Kindle. It's like a Long Beach setting, I believe, so I thought this would be good to read during the summer. And this first one involves a lifeguard, bad boy, and a new like goody two-shoes girl, and she's taking like summer classes so she can start university in the fall. And she has an interesting backstory. So she's from one of those like YouTuber families who filmed her like when she was growing up, and like they did like toy reviews and like that kind of thing. So I thought that was an interesting dynamic, especially as a YouTuber myself and as someone who has watched YouTube families and YouTube vloggers for more than half my life at this point, honestly. It's interesting to see like how they come out on the other side. So I like that dynamic to the story a lot. And I know it's cheesy and I know it's cliche, but I am a sucker for good girl, bad boy, okay? I just am. Like, you can't tell me that it doesn't work, because it does. So I love that aspect of it. Rory is like down bad for Olive, okay? Like, I just love them to pieces, and it was really good. It was a cute summer romance, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. Okay. Hopefully this video wasn't super duper long. I think I did pretty good with my timer, so there's that. It definitely works for me. Those are all the books that I read in the month of July. Be sure to give this video a like and leave a comment down below telling me what books you have been reading lately. July was a really great reading month for me, and yeah, be sure to subscribe so that you can come back for my August wrap up that I will upload next week. See you next time. Bye.